Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine with another playlist show, and this time I've gone back to 1984. Not extensively. There are loads of things from 1984 I'm not playing because there's absolutely tons of albums, and I didn't realise how many of them I had, and how my musical taste has changed since 1984. My original 1984 playlist would have been nothing but hard rock and metal, and now a lot of those albums that came out either side of that, Bruce Springsteen and all sorts of things, Talk, are also in my collection. But for this, I've been playing about, I haven't counted actually, there could be about 8 or 10 albums here, but I've been really enjoying these. And shall we just start? What's the first one? I'm going to go for the one that probably you least expect me to put up, probably. I don't know why you would. But recent comments have suggested this might be the case. And I need to pre-warn you that there is something coming along which might be a bit of a surprise, really. Not in this show, but in another one. Right, 1984, Kiss, Animalize. I love Kiss, but I came into Kiss a lot later. And I'm working on the top 20 Kiss tracks of all time. And even for Kiss fans, the ones that I've chosen is going to make some of you think, what planet is Phil on? But it's just because of the way I came into them. This album I don't play that often. It's the one with Heaven's on Fire, which is a great track, and I like some of the others, some great guitar playing on it. This kind of sets the tone where a lot of the albums in my playlist are coming from. So I shall wax lyrical in more depth on some of them than others. Another CD one, and again, this is when it was just hard rock from America. We spent the 70s projecting and broadcasting some of the best rock music in the world from the UK. And then by the time we got to the 80s, it's almost as if the world had shifted 180 degrees and everything was flooded in from America. And this was another one. Autograph. This is a Rock Candy reissue of the album called Sign In Please. And what was it about this album? Well, it's great, but of course it's Turn Up the Radio, which they originally were going to call, because everybody in the early 80s had got boom boxes and were playing tapes, and they were going to call it Turn Up the Tape, I think, which wouldn't have worked very well. Or would it? Because cassettes are coming back, aren't they? No. Turn Up the Radio. It's just one of those hypnotic earworm tracks. I don't want to use the phrase hair metal for some of the things I'm showing you, but the thing is with that phrase, everyone knows what I'm talking about, but this was, I think, 1984 was where it was really taking off, this kind of pop metal. It was still heavy metal, but it had great choruses. It was getting in the charts in America. And for us in the UK, going to the rock discos and rock pubs, it was tracks like this that made us go to the DJ and say, what is that? And that was one of them. Autograph. It's a great release, this Rock Candy. Fantastic label. Right, next. Next is not hair metal. It's Don Henley and Building the Perfect Beast. Now, many of you will know this album for The Boys of Summer. One of the best videos on the MTV era. And that song, I bought the single and played it over and over again. Didn't play the B-side very much, but when the album came out, I thought, I'm going to buy a Don Henley album. I'm going to be really cool. It's outside of my comfort zone. I wasn't a huge fan of the Eagles at the time, but I loved this song, The Boys of Summer, the hypnotic drumming. Remember that little kid playing the drums? Got the album, and I didn't like it. And to this day, I don't play it very often. There was one other track called Sunset Grill, which I really like. Great synth solo, and it's quite an epic song. But I was in a band at the time called Tantrum, and quite a few of us, keyboard player in particular, Mark, bought this and said, there's only 2 good tracks on it. And some of my other friends thought the same. So I'm determined to go under the bonnet of this album and try and understand it more. But what did you think? Did you buy it? What Boys of Summer and Sunset Grill? Well, those are the two tracks you felt most drawn to. Be interesting to know, won't it? Right, next, metal. Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith. The follow-up album to Screaming for Vengeance. Screaming for Vengeance is one of my favourite Judas Priest albums. And this one came out, and it wasn't one of my favourite Judas Priest albums. And loads of people love this. And it's heavier. Freewheel Burning, I remember seeing that on, could have been Tiswas, the video, could have been. Jawbreaker, Rock Hard, Ride Free, The Sentinel, Love Bites, Eat Me Alive, Some Heads Are Gonna Roll. I don't know, it just sounded too forced in a way. This is the original. It says, win a Suzuki motorbike. And here is the leaflet for me to still have a chance of winning that Suzuki motorbike. There's a picture of the guys on the cover. If you're looking at this and thinking, wow, the vinyl version of this, I wouldn't bother with the vinyl version. I would try and find this version, which is the triple CD version with a great little package, which also has a live double as well from the tour, which is fantastic. That's the one I would get personally. This has been on one of my playlists before, and it's the first Bon Jovi album. And the reason why it's on again is because I've played it again. So I want to be honest when I do these, that I don't want to leave it out because I've been playing it a lot. And it's made me realise, because of what's in this week's playlist, is that a lot of these bands were coming out and obviously going to the same hairdresser and the same outfitter for their trousers and pixie boots. But really, the first Bon Jovi album, I feel like the reason why that band in particular are still around is that they were one of the first through the gate. And songs like Runaway, Roulette, She Don't Know Me, which is still one of my favourites. It's cheesy, but it's the production, Shot Through the Heart, Breakout, Get Ready. I still think, I know they had bigger albums than this. It was the first one. But this is still my most played Bon Jovi album. Next, I'm in, where am I? I'm in HMV Records in Birmingham. I'm on my way home from work, but the bus is late, and I could just stand at the bus stop and wait for the next bus, or I could go and just hang around in HMV. So I go to hang around in HMV, and they start playing this keyboard kind of introduction to something. It gets my attention, and then it changes into this throbbing sound of drums coming, and then I thought, wow, who is this? And it was Van Halen 1984. I was a huge Van Halen fan, had been ever since 1978 when I saw them dismantle Black Sabbath in real time at the Birmingham Odeon. And Van Halen were a band where they were like the Rolls Royce of rock, in that whatever they released, you just bought it. Even though it might have been diminishing returns for some people, to me, you just bought it. But for this one, all the planets came back into alignment, and they created an absolutely stunning record, didn't they? It's just an incredible album. This is a reissue, actually, from the box set. But the tracks themselves are just incredible, aren't they? Jump and Panama. The video, again, this is the golden age of videos, isn't it? Panama, Top Jimmy, Dr. Dead Legs, and of course Hot for Teacher on the beast on side 2. If I can find my way into my version here, bear with me. I don't think I can I? Because on the version I've got, all the track things aren't there, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Hot for Teacher. And you know what my favourite track was off this? The one I played the most? I'll Wait. The ballad. But what a song. What a song. You know what a song it is. I'll Wait from 1984 by Van Halen. Girl Gone Bad, House of Pain, Ted Templeman. Genius. One of the best producers in the world. Absolutely fantastic. So that's been played, and I've just so much enjoyed that. Let's stay with the hair. Ratt, Out of the Cellar. They'd made other albums, hadn't they? And they were going to make other albums after this. And I just feel that whatever they did, they didn't make anything better than this. And whatever happened before this wasn't like this. There was something about this that as soon as it hit the ground, I feel that everyone just opened up to it. Former Mrs. Coverdale on the front cover, Wanted Man, You're in Trouble, the guitar sound, the production, In Your Direction, She Wants Money, Lack of Communication, what a riff. Back for More, Morning After, I'm Insane, Scene of the Crime. They look the Dogs Doodas. This is what everyone wanted to look like in 1984 if you're in a band, and it was just really popular. So it was hit. These things like Round and Round were hit singles. Not in the UK they weren't, but in the States they were. I think in the UK, rock music was still very much about blokes. But in the States, this was kind of like mainstream. And again, I was in this band called Tantrum, and the singer, Neil, was constantly playing this and talking about them, and other bands as well, like Night Ranger and stuff. And so, in the UK, we just couldn't really carry off looks like this, really. But Warren DeMartini, what a player. Absolutely incredible production by Beau Hill. Of course, by the time grunge came along, no one would ever employ him again because nobody wanted to sound like this. Why? It's one of the best sounding rock albums ever to me. A lot of people have issues with 80s production. I don't. I just think everything sounded massive. Not only was hair bigger and higher and wider than anything else, but so was drum sound. Whether it was a Linn drum or whatever it was was incredible. And the guitar sounds from this period. Eddie Van Halen had opened the door to this stuff. But great. But it wasn't all just coming over from America. It was also coming over from Europe, from bands who had really fine-tuned themselves, where these young upstarts, like Ratt, of course. We had the Scorpions. This was a high watermark for them as well. Not one of my favourite albums overall from the Scorpions, because I think by this time they'd realised how to become, how to really conquer the world. But Bad Boys Running Wild, Rock You Like a Hurricane, I'm Leaving You, Coming Home, The Same Thrill, Big City Nights, As Soon as the Good Times Roll, Crossfire, Still Loving You. A lot of those entered the Scorpions' live set and never left. I mean, Bad Boys Running Wild, Rock You Like a Hurricane, and Still Loving You are absolute classics. Production is incredible. The playing, the musicianship, the songwriting, everything is brilliant. Again, for those of you thinking I haven't got that, get this version. It's got a bonus CD with tons of tracks on. It's also got a bonus DVD with TV appearances, music videos, a documentary, great live tracks, great remastering. Brilliant. That's the version to go for. But the Scorpions, they'd arrived by this time. They were just massive everywhere in the world. But it's 1984. Great. Where should we go? Should we go back over to America or stay in Europe? We'll pop over to the States. Dokken, Tooth and Nail. Let me look at the tracks on this one. I'll put this on this so you can see it. Tooth and Nail. This is another one that in the UK really captured people's imagination and also introduced us to George Lynch on guitar, another fantastic player. When Heaven Comes Down, Into the Fire, Bullets to Spare, Alone Again, Turn on the Action, Without Warning, Tooth and Nail, Just Got Lucky, Heartless Heart, Don't Close Your Eyes. All of those are classics. Again, a lot of those songs entered the live set and never left. 1984. It was like in the UK at this point, when you've only got so much money, and you're trying to choose what to buy, and you buy sounds or Kerrang, and in the import section, there's like all these bands like, you know, Autograph and Dokken, Bon Jovi, 1984, all coming out all at the same time, all saying you need to buy this, all getting 5 stars. It was really tricky. So you kind of relied on a lot of your friends thinking, well, I'll buy that one if you buy this one, and then tape them for each other, really. So sticking home taping is clean music on the back. Most of us just couldn't keep up with the amount of great music that was coming out, especially a lot in this vein. And that one, I think now, really holds up as a fantastic album from that genre. Last 3 is an obvious one from me, and I'm going to do a separate video on this album anyway. Perfect Strangers. I bought the single, Son of a Lyric, the B-side, that long instrumental track, which is very different to what I expected. I stayed up and listened to Tommy Vance do that interview with the band. This was big news. There was no bigger news than this. Deep Purple reforming in 1984. There was no bigger news than that. The original Mark II lineup coming back. Perfect Strangers had that kind of Zeppelin-esque feel to it. Remember the video? And of course, knocking at your back door, the commerciality of the vocals and the guitar solo, that Snake Charmer scale that Blackmore played, the production of it, his guitar playing and Under the Gun. Yeah, there was a Rainbow element, so why wouldn't there be? He'd just come from there, and Glover was in Rainbow. Gypsy's Kiss, I think, was very Rainbow-esque. Wasted Sunsets, Hungry Days, and of course the CD had the extra track, Not Responsible, as did the cassette, which I've got still. And I know a lot of people, because to me it was a great return, but it wasn't the 70s. But I know a lot of people, my oldest son is one of them, this is their favourite Deep Purple album. And I know a lot of people feel the same way about it. And now that I look back at it, I can see why that is. Because there are so many magical moments about this, and I'll do a separate video on it. But Deep Purple, Perfect Strangers from 1984. That guitar solo though on Under the Gun, and the outro guitar solo on the Knocking Your Back Door, it's got to be probably some of Richie's finest playing, I think. Great recording. How he changed his sound, really. You know, I think with everyone using a tremolo on left, right and centre, doing that dive bomb effect that Eddie Van Halen, I think he kind of, Blackmore's style started to shift away from using the tremolo arm so much. I think he wanted to separate himself from that. And I think his guitar playing on this does that really, really well. Last but one, it was also Purple. Purple could do no wrong because they were everything was released on picture disc, there were compilations coming out, and they must say, Rog, do you want to do a solo album? And he did Mask. And I remember the review saying, the audience for this kind of thing is becoming less and less. How little did they know how wrong they would be. It's probably the rockiest solo album that Roger Glover ever did. Hip Level's good. Dancing Again is good. The Mask is great. But it's unusual. It's a timepiece. It's Roger Glover flexing his songwriting muscles in a different direction. But I have a lot of time for this. I've also got it on CD. I think Lemon Records released it. But it's fab. Right, and the last one is one of my favourite albums that features Sammy Hagar, HSAS. Sammy Hagar also released a solo album in this year, but it doesn't come anywhere near this. Sammy Hagar's vocals, one of my favourite singers. I think his voice just is incredible. Neil Schon is one of my favourite guitarists. And both of them together on this is just amazing stuff. I mean, that there's like an experimental, almost proggy section, isn't there, with animation, Valley of the Kings and Giza. That the drum sound, the guitar, the vocals, the way it's delivered, and of course, Missing You. Oh, Top of the Rock. Great rock track. I mean, they've taken out the audience because they obviously worried that it was kind of distract from sales. Live albums in the States weren't as popular as live albums elsewhere. But Missing You, that solo with all that kind of dripping reverb and echo stuff. White a Shade of Pale. What a version. Hot and Dirty. He Will Understand My Hometown. But I think that is one of the highlights of 1984. And it's an album that I've never tired of. I think that it captures, and this is it. There isn't anything else. They didn't do anything else. But that marriage of Sean and Hager is just incredible. So, what have you been playing? If you went back to 1984, where would you go? I know I could have included lots of other things, even from the world of rock and metal, couldn't I? But I've mentioned Wasp. That was another one, wasn't it? It came out that year. And there's other stuff as well. And so let me know. What were you listening to there? If you're of that age, obviously if you're in your 20s, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But hopefully this will give you a little bit of some ideas and insight in what you might want to go off and explore. So let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here. Please, if you can, subscribe and ring that little bell. Check out the website, and if you want to help me a bit more, you can become a patron or a YouTube member, and you'll get access to our private Facebook group, WhatsApp group, and come along to our own virtual pub called the Now Spinning Arms, where we meet twice a month. Remember, music is the healer and the doctor. Please take care, keep spinning those discs, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon.